Hi there, this is David, and I just want to talk about Square for just a second and be like, what is going on with this company? News came out today that Square sold all of its Western studios, all of them, and their games to Embracer, which is essentially THQ if you've never heard of that company, which I've never heard of it. So they sold over 50 classic games rights and over 1,000 of their developers for $300 million, which doesn't really seem like a whole lot when if you think about everything that they got rid of. I mean, they got rid of really nice legacy games like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain. Those are not games that I personally buy or personally even like, but I am aware of them, I know of them, and I know that a lot of people like them, and I would imagine that they make Square plenty of money. But nothing's ever good enough for them. So I don't know what's going on here with Square. I'm reading this article right here, and it says that Square is going to continue to publish some of their franchises like Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange, which are also IPs that I do not really care about. But they're getting rid of all of their other Western stuff, and I know that they have said in the past that a lot of their games are not reaching their expectations. All of these Western games, even though they sold millions of copies, they're still not good enough for whatever reason. It says here that the Tomb Raider lifetime game sales exceeded 85 million copies. And that's neck and neck in comparison with Dragon Quest, which sold 83 million copies. I mean, it's even better than Dragon Quest, but they're still getting rid of it. That means that they're going to be getting rid of it or getting rid of the like any kind of film things that they have going on, like the Tomb Raider Lara Croft films, any kind of Avengers kind of films that they have going on with that. Like, the whole thing is just kind of maddening, I've got to say. Honestly though, to me, for my purposes, I'm okay about it. You know, I guess I'm glad about it. It means that maybe, hopefully, they'll go back to, you know, what built them. They'll go back to those classic JRPGs that I grew up with, that I knew and loved. I'm not holding my breath, though, but hopefully they're just going to go back to the basics, because I know that they've been kind of going off the deep end here lately. If you remember this from the beginning of the year, when Square-Enix president came out and said that NFTs and blockchains are the future of fun. And then they were like, well, there's gamers who just play to have fun, and then there's gamers who play to earn. And we don't want the ones who just have fun. We want the ones who earn, which is also like, what is going on with this company? I remember reading that and thinking like, give me a break. They're going to backpedal on this. They've got to backpedal on this. And they never did. And I know that a lot of other companies have been like saying that they're not going to get into the NFT thing and they're not going to do, you know, that sort of stuff. But Square is like, they're going all in on this, which is very, very worrisome to me. I don't know what is happening over there. One thing that I'm kind of thinking, though, is that they're just overextended. That's the only thing I could possibly think of, is that they're doing too much. There's way too many games coming out, and they're trying to do too many things at one time. So hopefully, if they sell off this Western studio, again, they can put their focus on their classic, long-time franchises, their Final Fantasies, their Dragon Quests, their Manas, you know, that sort of stuff. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully. I was thinking about what games have actually been announced for this year and what games used to be announced back whenever I was growing up. I was born at a pretty opportune time. I'm turning 40 this month. I'm going to be 40 years old. But I've pretty much been able to see in my lifetime just the birth of consoles, starting with the NES and just kind of going all the way up to present day. And I've been really lucky to see that with my own eyes. And I remember, I have this list right here of the games that came out in which year. We're just going to go through the 90s right here. These are all the Square games that came out in 1990. There's 5 of them. 4 of them are Final Fantasy games, and there's Rad Racer too. Then in 1991, it's, you know, again, 5 games. You got 2 Saga games, a Mana game, 2 Final Fantasy games. 1992, we have 4 games. 93, 5 games. 94, 5 games. 1995, we have 5 games, and then 3 more Satellaview games, which is an experimental system in Japan, so they don't really even count. So yeah, about like 5 games per year or so, getting a little bit more in 96 with about 7 games, it looks like. 97, we're getting into the PlayStation. They're really experimenting with that. They're coming out with more games in 98, more games in 99. So you can see how it's kind of expanding, how they're going more and more and more and more. But these were all quality games. Get into the 2000s here, and they've kind of pedaled back a bit. I think they were working on Spirits Within, and then that came out and then almost bankrupted them. You can see that they came out with 2 games in 2001 because of Spirits Within. But yeah, as you can see, over the course of these years, there weren't that many games coming out for Square. They would focus on just a few games, just a little bit of games, but they really dialed in and they made sure that those games were perfect. They went ahead and they said, you know what, we're going to be only making a couple of games, but those games are going to be the best games that they can be. Those are going to be some quality games. So then I have to say, what happened? I mean, so far, look at what 2022 has brought for Square-Enix. The Kingdom Hearts Integra Masterpiece released on the Switch, and it flopped terribly. Absolutely terribly. Worse than Balan Wonderland, if you can believe that. The Voice of Cards Forsaken Maiden was a cheap cash-in. It did okay on reviews. I thought it was complete garbage, though. But hey, what do I know? Then there's the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. That did okay, but I mean, it's Final Fantasy VI. Of course it's going to do okay. Final Fantasy VII, the First Soldier Season 2, only got a 62% on Metacritic, and that's for a Final Fantasy VII game. I mean, come on. Babylon's Fall. Do I really need to say anything about that? It was just ridiculous. Triangle Strategy, that did well, but again, we knew that it would and that it should. It's that HD 2D thing that everybody loves, and it had so much hype against it. Square put time, energy into that game. They wanted to make sure it could be as good as humanly possible. Chocobo GP came out with a ton of issues, but the thing is, this is a port of a PS1 game, and all they did was re-release it on a new console with more paywalls than anything else. Like, what in the world is going on? Then there's Stranger in Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, which, it's not what I want it to be. It's just, yeah, I don't know what's going on right there. Then they were like, hey, maybe we can recapture, the spirit of the old games, and we can redo Chrono Cross with the Radical Dreamers edition, which got mixed reviews, because I think that what people finally realized after 20 plus years is what I've been saying from day one is correct. The game is a piece of crap, but at least now you can get through that steaming pile of crap 10 times as fast as normal. I mean, like, come on. Then there's 9 more games confirmed for this year, and 8 announced titles that they're working on, with 18 games total being made, plus 6 more coming out being updated this year, and 9 more games that are being announced that have no release date. There's a Centennial Case, a Sejima Story, the Front Mission First Remake and Front Mission 2 Remake, Octopath Traveler, Champions of the Continent, The Diggerfield Chronicle, Echoes of Mana, Live Alive, H2 TD Remake, The Star Ocean, The Divine Force, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Forspoken, Valkyria Elysium. Then they're updating with Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, The War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Dissidia, Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and plus all their other little random mobile titles. Then they have even more that they're working on, in addition to what they're already working on that don't have a release date, such as the Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, the Dragon Quest Treasures, Dragon Quest XII, Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, They're going to be remaking the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, Kingdom Hearts 4. Like, when is it ever going to end? Like, I'm sorry, but come on. Focus. Take it down a notch. Focus on what you need to do. And if what you need to do is sell off all those Western studios so that you can focus on the games that made you, the games that you built from the ground up, then that's what you need to do. But they're just going 20 different directions, focusing on so many different games, and not actually trying to make a good game anymore. And I think that that's what the root of the issue is. They're getting a little bit money, well, a lot of it money hungry with all these NFTs, the blockchains, all the microtransactions, the paywalls, all that kind of stuff, and paywalls in games that you pay full price for. I understand it in a free-to-play mobile game, I get it, but in a full-priced console game, it's inexcusable. I'm sorry, completely inexcususable. They just need to go back to the basics, and I do hope that this is good news that they're selling their Western studios and their Western IPs so that they can go back and focus on what made them. What do you guys think about what Square is doing lately? Because they just seem all over the place. Let me know in the comments, and as always, have a good day.